This is the story of a window, a round window, that was once in a house in the country. This belongs to a friend of mine, and she spent many happy days there in her childhood, staying with Uncle and Auntie during the summer holidays. The Uncle and Auntie are no longer with us, and the house had fallen into disrepair and was being knocked down. She managed to get hold of the round window that she remembers from the room in the top of the house. She couldn't quite decide what to do with the window, but then the idea hit her to have it as an ornament in the garden. So she contacted me to see what we could do to restore it. As we can see, the window had got a little bit tatty, some of the glass was broken and it was cracked around the outside of the frame. So the first job was to strip back the paint and take it back to the wood. The glass was removed after chipping out the putty, some of which came out in one piece but some of it cracked. However, as this wasn't going to be reused, it wasn't a problem. The paint was removed using a combination of a heat gun, scrapers, cabinet scrapers, sandpaper, as well as a powered sander. The excess putty was chipped away to clean the frame up as much as possible. Fortunately, the paint came away fairly easily using these tools. Here I'm using a chisel which has been ground as a scraper, so it's not actually cutting the wood like a chisel would, but is scraping the surface, and as the end of it is curved, it doesn't gouge into the frame. I used a polyurethane glue, which is fully waterproof when hardened, and it expands to fill out the gaps. This was held together using a band clamp whilst the glue set. I took the frame outside to sand the outside of the frame to try and cut down on the amount of dust in the workshop. Next was a two-part filler. I use this as it sets very quickly, and so there's very little hanging around waiting for it to dry. The holes were filled as far as possible. It's then a case of sanding it back, which again I did mostly outside to avoid the dust. It was then on to paint. For this I used the Cornish mineral milk paint, which is one of my favourite types of paint. It is very easy to use and gives a lovely soft finish. The colour used is one called Flower Sack, which is a warm white colour. It's a very slight beige tint. After the first coat of paint, this was sanded back, and also any other defects that showed up were filled. In all, this had 3 coats of paint with a light rub back between each one. One of the advantages with this paint is that it does dry very quickly. In fact, the paint is starting to dry before you actually finish the whole coat. Then on to fixing the mirrors into the frame. I used a mirror adhesive. You do have to be careful with mirrors, as some silicones can erode the mirrored surface on the back, so this is special mirror adhesive which is safe to use with mirror glass. I then used a frame sealant to seal the gap on the front of the mirror. This is to give it a good waterproof finish. Next I cut out some templates to cut some plywood to go in the back of the mirror to protect the back of the mirror glass. I used the paper and pencil technique to get the shape. This was then cut out in 4mm ply, which was then cut to fit each one. I used the mirror adhesive again to glue these in place before applying the external frame silicone. It's then a case of putting another coat of paint over the plywood to seal this in. I used some brass coated fixings, 4 altogether, so the mirror could then be fixed in place. The final job was to apply a sealer. This sealer is also made by Cornish Milk Paint and is specially designed to go over the top of their paints to give them extra durability. So remember that old frame we started with? So here is the finished window with its mirror glass installed. If you've enjoyed this video, then please do like and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified of future content. Thanks for watching.